What is up, everybody? Welcome to the God's Heart, Your Part podcast. I am so excited that you are tuning in. Thank you so much. A couple quick things before we get into it. First off, if there are any specific things you want to hear talked about on the podcast, would you let us know? Reach out to us on Instagram at God's Heart, Your Part podcast. If you'd also like access to exclusive content, we got that for you on our Patreon, so check that out. It'll be well worth your time. Without further ado, let's dive in and let's learn from today's episode together. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to just dive right in today with today's amazing guest. Many of you who listen honestly might know her because she is incredible. She serves as one of our pastors in youth ministry, but really she's had a number of roles in the amount of time that I've known her, and she's incredible. She loves people so well. She leads people so well. So would everyone help me welcome Leah onto the podcast. Hi, Leah.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing swell. How about yourself?
I'm living the dream.
I love that. I told you this 5 minutes ago that I was going to ask you. I'm over here eating my gummy fruit snacks, and I want to know, what is your opinion on fruit snacks?
I feel like when people normally ask this, it's like, are they asking, is it candy? Hold on, what's the question? It's either, are fruit snacks candy? That's it. Are fruit snacks candy? Fruit snacks are candy.
100%. Wait, what's the alternative? Breakfast?
No. People would, like, with the thought of, like, they're healthy for you. They're not healthy for you. They're candy.
Yeah, this candy. Is definitely not healthy for you. Maybe there's some organic brand or something, but
I like them though. I'm a big fruit snack person.
Very good. Okay, well, thanks for joining the podcast. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Just wrap it there. Just talking about fruit snacks. No, okay. So obviously, I think plenty of people will probably listen who do know you. But for some individuals who might be joining who are not familiar with Leah Gasowski, oh my gosh, did I say that right?
You did.
Okay, I was like, oh my gosh. Who is Leah? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow. Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me. This is very fun. Who am I? Oh, wow. That's fun. Well, I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, from the east side of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I am married. I have a husband, his name, who you know very well.
We love Robbie G.
Rob, he's the best. Rob and I have been married for almost 5 years. We're approaching 4.5 years. So we got married in 2020. And I currently, am one of the youth pastors at Amplify Church. In the past, I've been community pastor, and I've done pastoral care, and I've directed the college ministry and all kinds of things like that. And more recently, I think almost 2 months ago, I actually started a new full-time job as a project manager at an organization that focuses on trauma-informed community development. And we work on their violence reduction teams. We work with a lot of stakeholders, the county government, other nonprofits, and things like that to combat gun violence in the county.
Well, I don't actually think that I knew that about you. I knew the organization, and I knew that you switched jobs, and I knew the organization generally, but I didn't realize that
I switched jobs again. I think the last time we actually talked about jobs. So this is new. This started 2 months ago. So that's what I'm doing right now. So that's what I do. But in terms of, I guess, who I am, the Lord has saved my life, and Jesus has saved my life. And I feel like now my life's aim is I just want to do whatever he asks me to do, or whatever he asks Rob and I to do, and just want to serve others and just be a part of what he's doing and what he's already doing. So
Yeah. And you both do that so well and so faithfully. And the topic that I sent you that I really want to talk about today, I plan to have Rob on the podcast too. And I would love to talk to you both about this, but I'm giving it to you because I honestly think you guys as individuals, but also as a couple, really exemplify and live this out. And it's the idea of the everyday faith. And the idea that faith goes beyond a Sunday and really living your faith in every context. Because like you said, right now, both of you have these other jobs that are beyond the walls of the church, and they're for incredible organizations, and you're doing great things for the kingdom in those places, but it's not like in the confines of the church. So you're really taking your faith beyond and into different contexts. And I think you guys do that so well. So I just wanted to, pick your brain a little bit on that. Like, how do you walk in your faith on the day-to-day?
Wow.
That's a very broad question. You could go a million directions with that. Well, we'll just go somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting that you say that, because I think I want to say 3 years, almost 3 years, I had the privilege, and it really is a privilege, to be working full time at a church in ministry. Right. It is a privilege, and you get used to, like, your days are really flexible, and you've got a lot of time to go meet people, and you can go to the gym whenever you want in the day. Like, you make your own schedule, which some people might not like that. I really loved that, and had that for like 3 years. And it was really easy too, when you're working for a church in vocational ministry, everything that you're doing is like, it feels so impactful. Sometimes it's hard. There's a lot of things that are hard with it. I won't downplay that, but I do feel like, when you're in full-time vocational ministry, it can feel very like, oh my gosh, like I'm on this mission, and I'm on fire. I'm passionate about this. And when you are no longer in that position, that for me, it's so interesting that you asked me to talk, for us to talk about this topic, because this is something I think I've been challenged in, coming back into vocational, I'm at church full time in this pastoral role, because it is a lot more challenging. I mean, I don't have 3 hours in the morning anymore to journal and pray. And if I'm preaching, I don't have 2 full days to carve out time to just study, or time to break that up over whenever I want, really. Sure. And so it is a really drastic change. And my schedule completely went like from being super flexible to like, whoop. Now I have like very little flexibility in my day, and in my evenings is really when our true free time is. So it has really been, I want to say I've been revisiting that, I think, in this new season. So I think that, which is a whole thing. It's a whole thing I think God's been doing, but sure. I think something for me and how to walk in everyday faith, which I think that a lot of it is you have to I feel like I have to make capacity. I have to create capacity in my day, in my week. And it can be really easy to go to what a lot of, I believe, Christians can fall into, which is Sunday is just my day. Sunday is the day. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to worship. And it can be really easy to just slide back into routine on Monday. But we know that church is not the place where all of your entire faith journey just sits. I mean, we're meant to worship there. We're meant to be equipped there. And then we're meant to go out to reach the lost. And to be a light in everywhere that we are. And I think for me, what's been most challenging is honestly creating that capacity in my days, because it can be so easy for the day to just go by. And you're like, wow, God, did I talk to you today? Did I pray before this really important meeting? Am I doing things that are fueling my faith, or am I just consistently, it can be so easy to just run. Run. And I can't even imagine for people who have kids, we don't have kids yet. But I can only imagine when kids get in the mix, it's like, you're just go. Right. So I think we have to build that capacity and that margin into our day. And even if we can't, find out the little spaces. So I think that's a really broad way of answering that question. But I think for me, that's one of the things that I'm seeing in this new season of my life.
100%. Thanks for sharing that. To kind of get a little bit more granular with it, specific, I look at your guys' lives, and you guys, as you outlined, you work these jobs, you're married, you got 3 dogs also, I might add.
I have 3 dogs.
So, come on. And they do shed. So they
shed so much.
Right. So you got to spend time cleaning up that, it's a whole thing. And you also have all these friendships and relationships that you guys have developed and cared for over the years. And so I look at you guys and I'm like, you guys are very busy people with low margin. And I'm even thinking of some people who listen to this who I know live similar lives. Like, okay, they don't have 6 hours in the evening to carve out 2 hours to study or whatever. And so could you maybe give a little bit of vision dash detail, maybe, I don't know, both and or either or, of how do you make that happen? Like, do you pull something? Do you just encompass Jesus in everything? Do you have a set time? Like, just really how?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't always do it perfectly. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, it's very rare.
You and Rob
like
seem like you do, but okay.
We don't. We really don't. That's crazy. That's actually wild. Yeah, we don't. And it's really, there's very few weeks where you go through a full week and I feel like, wow, I hit everything I wanted to hit. I mean, like, I think this week actually, both Rob and I have really tried to prioritize the gym. And actually we've been doing pretty well this week. So that is one thing we're making movement on. But there's very few weeks where we get through the whole week and I'm like, wow, I really did everything I wanted to do. And if we're being honest, like, there's times where, you know, a chore that I wanted to do that day doesn't get done today. It has to get done a different time or this space, because we have so many different tasks in the day. But I think practically, it has depended on my season. I think the season that I'm in right now that God has me, like I said, it's creating that margin. So, a good example of this is, I mean, we all know everybody can spend a lot of time on social media. Amen. I'm guilty. Something that about 2 weeks ago, what I tried to do is just limit my social media time. So I have, some time limit set up on it. So it lets me know, hey, your 15 minutes on this app is up. Sometimes I do that really well. And other times I'm like, type in the little passcode, keep going. But what I did was, with my job, that week, there was maybe, I want to say 2 weeks ago, where I didn't have Instagram the whole week. I was like, Instagram is one of my biggest distractions. It's like my lunch break and I'm just scrolling, I'm looking at videos, whatever. And I thought, wow, what if I take this week to just I'm going to delete the app. I didn't, and I go through rounds of having TikTok. 1 week I have it, 1 week I don't. And that was also a week where I was like, I don't want to be on I want to clear my mind of all this clutter. There's so many voices and things, and how can I just focus on God? And what I noticed that week, it was like on my lunch break, I would either bring my Bible with me or it was like 30 minutes, bring my Bible with me, bring a book that I'm reading that is maybe talking about a certain concept in the word that I'm thinking through or praying about, and kind of making that space a space where I can actually just sit or get away from the office maybe. And this is one that I have not loved, but I feel like it's needed, getting up earlier, and going to bed earlier, which for me feels like it's sacrifice. For me, it's a big sacrifice. I'm not a morning person. And I feel like I've had to learn in this season of my life, if I want to actually be able to do the things that I believe God is asking me to do, it means I need Him. And if I need Him, like, my job right now feels it feels high stakes. It's like the work that we're doing it is impactful and it can be heavy. And also with youth also is heavy and impactful. These students are going through real things. And it's like, wow, I really can't do any of this without Him. And so if I need more of Him and I need more time with Him and time in His presence, time in His word, then I can't rely on motivation. And I think historically for me personally, I'm a motivation person. It's like, if I'm not motivated, it's not happening. Which I feel like in maturity, God is trying to, there's been some growing pains with it to get me out of that mindset where it's like, no, I need to be disciplined. I need to choose this. So I've been trying to go to bed. There's nights in the last couple of weeks, 2 months, maybe, where like we've been going to bed at like 9:30. I'm in bed at 10 o'clock. Trying to go to bed so that I can get up. Sometimes I'm good at it. Sometimes I'm not good at it. But if I can get up even like 5:30 instead of 6 or something, I've got some kind of space in my morning to just sit with the Lord and do whatever needs to happen, whether if it requires journaling that morning, if it's writing out what I'm praying, if it's, I don't have as much time to deep study anymore. I wish I did, but in the mornings I don't. So maybe, right now I'm actually reading through, it's called The Harmony of the Gospels, which is really cool. So it goes through the Gospels and tries to put them in chronological order. And I'm just reading. I'll just read a section a day. either in the morning or at night. Maybe I'll have a cutoff time some nights of like, okay, no more TV. I'm going to go lay in bed. I'm going to read this section. And then maybe that'll be my light little reading for the day, just like reading about Jesus, reading about who he is, what he did, what he said, thinking about that, praying about that. In those little, even small moments of 5 minutes. And then obviously I love studying. So I try to create time as well in the evenings, especially when the weeks that I'm supposed to be communicating for youth. I mean, this is the part that gets a little, this is the reality. I mean, which they always say the words like, count the cost when God asks you to do something, you got to count the cost. Is 2 weeks ago when I had to preach, every single free night that I had that week went to sermon prepping. Every single night I came home from work, I did an hour of the things around the house and had Rob and I caught up and talked about how was your day? Cause you also have to make time for those relationships as well. And so, we would have our conversation and then I'd go, I literally lock myself in this room. I have, a little space where I can study and pray and think and worship and kind of cry out to God. So there's some sacrifice in that. But also, it's not, I think sometimes we also think that time with God has to look a certain way. Like social media is like, my time with God has to be like candle in the corner and early in the morning and my cup of coffee. And I've got 3 hours to do like, that's not everybody's situation. And also sometimes spending time with God is also spending time with his people. So if I also can get in a space where I'm around people, maybe it's making time for friends. Really good. It's like, how do I put this? It's like, if you've experienced it, you have. And if you haven't, I hope whoever's listening to this, I hope this encourages you to do it. But I feel like when you're, as a follower of Christ, there are certain people that you spend time with and you walk away from those conversations feeling encouraged and feeling your faith has been stirred. You feel hopeful. You feel, for lack of any better term, closer to Jesus. Just by being with them. And they make you want to pursue him. They make you want to to do what he's asking you to do. Like they stir up this faith in you. And I think that's probably, if I'm being honest, that's probably the thing I'm trying to work on now in my new schedule is how do I actually create time for that in the week and not just the weekends. Just time with those friends or giving someone a call that I love and being like, hey, can we just pray together? But I think even just being around the people, like not your time with God doesn't always have to look like this, just you. Maybe it is. There's times where Rob and I are praying together. It's praying together in the morning before work. Or which is interesting about my new job. It actually is also at a church. It's rooted in the Orthodox Church. Which is really cool.
Sorry, I didn't realize that.
No, I actually forgot to say it. I actually forgot to say that. Which is really cool. And the other 2 people on my team were all Christian. And we actually had some really challenging meetings in the last couple of weeks. And earlier, I think it was this week or maybe late last week, we were having a really tough day. And one of us was like, okay, we need to stop and pray. So we stopped for 5 or 10 minutes. And all 3 of us took time to pray. And it was like the amount of peace that all 3 of us had, it completely transformed our day. And so I think these are just the ways, like the reality is God is so much bigger than just our 30-minute time with him. We can't confine him to that. Sure. And he doesn't want to be confined to that. He wants to be in every single part of our day. So I think right now it's like, okay, where can I just, even if it's just a moment, I'm just sitting here. Hey, God, I love you. I can you speak to me? I need you in this moment. I need you to say what I can't say right now. I need you to give me the courage to do this. Give me the wisdom that I need. I think that's really like, hopefully that helps. But I mean, that's really, I think what I'm walking through right now. In my day to day.
Yeah, that is so good. And thanks for walking us through that. I think 2 things that you mentioned. The first was really, if I could make it real plain, you got to want it, right? Like, I love how you put it. Like, you're very motivation driven, but in this season, you need to be more, what do I really, really, really want driven, and creating the disciplines to support that. Like, I think that to the way you said it was just so good. Like, it's nice whenever it's motivation, but right now it's a lot more maturity, because it's not just, easy. It's like, I need to sacrifice for it, And so I think that that's really beautiful. And then I think to go back full circle to what you said, I also started doing the, like Instagram, whatever limits. And it was shocking to me how quick that limit comes up. I don't know if you feel that way, but I'm like,
I do.
has it really been 15 minutes? Like, I can't even imagine how much time I actually was spending on that. And I'm really excited. I don't know, it'll be the episode after yours, so I'm just going to plug it real quick. I don't know if you know Pastor Darren Whitehead. He just wrote a book called The Digital Fast. And what we're going to talk through is how do you, the statistics kind of show that like it's an addiction in our generation, much like many other substances. And so to just say, oh, eliminate that or part of that isn't really working because there's like withdrawal, like legitimately. And so I'm really excited to just kind of unpack with him a little bit. And so thank you for kind of teasing that out and giving a little bit unknowingly of the, hey, here's why it matters too, to create margin. And we're not anti-technology. We're not social media is evil and you need an exorcism if you have it on your phone. We're none of that. It's just moderation, right? And it's just creating space and creating margin. And so thank you so much for mentioning both of those things. I think that's way more helpful than you even realize, just saying that and calling it out for what it is. And so to again, kind of even go a little bit deeper with this, and then I promise we won't talk forever, although we probably could.
We probably could.
How something that I also feel like you guys live out really well. Yes, you make space for Jesus and you have him in everything you do and all that. But I also feel like it's easy to look at our lives and expect God to move in some areas, but not others, if that makes sense. So to expect God to move in our time with him, let's say, but not really expect him to move in our relational time with our friends or our work time with our colleagues. And something I just feel like, again, you both get, and I could ask either of you about this, you and Rob, is this idea that God really is in all things. And I feel like you have such a faith for what God's going to do, even in the little things. And so can you speak a little bit to how to cultivate that heart and that belief in God, even in the small things?
Yeah. Again, it's funny because I feel like my whole life I've struggled literally with everything we're talking about right now. I've struggled almost my whole life with it.
That's so wild.
Because we want, and I'm this way, like I am this way. And you probably you might be this way too. I don't know. I don't want to assume anybody is, but I naturally we crave like, like even when you're thinking of like, even like a church setting, we want like the big moment with God. We want the, every time I open my Bible, I get a revelation. Like we want the, we want the quick, we want the quick and we want the grand. We want like, God, do it big. And, I'm that way, like naturally I'm that way. And I think most of us probably are. Something that I feel like I've realized just in my walk with God over the last however many years that I've been walking with him, is that it really is those like small moments of faithfulness, and consistency that ultimately can lead to real transformation. And so I think that I typically am someone who like, I have faith for the really, really big things and I could see God doing this crazy thing. But when it comes to these, I'm susceptible to that, these small things. It's like, okay, well, even honestly, if I'm just being honest, like cleaning my house, I hate cleaning. I hate vacuuming. I hate, like, I cannot stand doing certain chores. Like, it's like, I have to run the dishwasher and I have to make time for this. Even that though, what God is showing me right now is, well, if I'm doing this as unto the Lord and I'm just being consistent with this, it's not just that I'm cleaning. It's that this is contributing to the culture of my home. Like this is a way that I can serve my family and serve the culture of my home. And especially as we're believing for children, I often do think about what is the culture of my home going to be like?
Wow.
And so I think because I personally am someone who I do tend to think and believe for the big things, I think what I've almost had to kind of get used to doing is almost like walking the big thing back And be like, okay, but that big thing actually starts with a bunch of little things and a bunch of
Wow.
little seeds. Because here's the thing about the kingdom of God. And this is crazy. Like the Jesus and I mean, all throughout the word, we see like there's agricultural. It's an agricultural society.
Yeah.
So many references to harvest and the seeds and the growth and things like that. Things take time. There's so many things that take time, and God has been working on me about just being steadfast. And here's the thing. I want to endure. And I think these are things that go through my mind when I'm trying to, when I'm praying and I'm asking the Lord, will you remind me of why this little thing matters so much?
Yeah.
It's because this little thing is one small thing, part of a really, really big thing that God's doing. And we only see the small thing. And God sees all the things. He sees all the pieces and all the things. I'm here. I'm at this point.
Yeah.
And I think what has helped me so much is asking him to just help me to be faithful in those small things of just showing up, just spending that 5 minutes in his word, believing that he's working in even that 5 minutes. In my experience, God has done so much, even in just 5 minutes of meditating on his word, in the same way that he's also done a lot of 5 minutes in a church service with a room full of people worshiping. I mean, his power is so much bigger and he's so much greater and what he can do with those small things. So I think that I try to think of it that way. Like I'm sowing seeds. The seeds that I'm sowing today are going to lead to a harvest later. And if I want to be able to be ready for that harvest later, I need to be faithful with what he's asking me to do now. So I think I've really been asking him a lot, even in like administrative tasks that I have to do for my job. I'm like, Lord, remind me of why, remind me why this matters. And it really is because, there's ways that he's working that I don't even know about right now. He could be setting me up for something down the road. I just want to be ready for whatever that is and be patient. Wow. I'm not naturally patient. I'm really not naturally patient, but he's, but I want to make it to the long run. I don't want to be someone burning out in 5 to 7 years. I can't remember the statistic. I don't know actually how true this is. But someone had told, I think Rob and I, when we had gotten married, we also stepped into pastoring in the same year. And I think they had told us statistically, it's like 5 to 7 years, pastors burn out or something. I can't remember. I don't even know if that's true. But I remember hearing that and being like, I don't want that to be me. I don't want to be the pastor that's burnt out. I don't want to be the couple that after 5 years of marriage hates each other. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be the parents who are just like, they can't, keep their head on straight and whatever. Like I want to just endure. And if I want to endure, then I have to trust and believe that this thing that I'm doing today is going to benefit and it's going to be a blessing. It's going to bring fruit at the end of the day in a month, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years. Cause that is what his word says. Yeah.
That's so good. That, to be quite honest with you, that is like very helpful to somebody like me who I think we're quite similar in thinking. Really, really, really likes the big picture. And so maybe if you were like much more of a big picture visionary type person, really write down what Leah just said, which is every small thing you do is attached to a big thing. I think you just need to figure out what is that larger thing it's attached to motivate you. Otherwise, it's so easy to just like throw in the towel or get tired of it or sick of it and not do it, right? But if you can identify and then resonate with a larger picture, I think that's like the key, and that's like genius. So thank you so much for sharing that. And just for being honest about, it's so interesting that everything we're talking about, you're like, oh, I've really wrestled with this.
Yeah.
But
I'm walking in it now. Like I'm literally walking it out right now.
Right. And so thank you for just even being honest about that. But again, for people listening, like from the outside looking in, I chose this because I'm like, wow, they crushed this. And this is like a strength. And so, hey, God can work in our weaknesses, right? And he's certainly like done that because you guys do this very well. And so Thank you for sharing about all of that. I guess before we wrap up, I would just open-ended. Is there anything left on the table that you would want to say or encourage people with? Maybe there's a young leader who's resonating with what you're saying about having faith in all areas of life. Is there anything you want to just leave with them?
Yeah. I think that especially in we're talking about Instagram. I mean, we have everything. We have everything at the tip of our fingers now. I mean, I grew up that way. You grew up that way. Older people, maybe there's people over the age of 40 remember a time when that wasn't the case. However, that's our whole society now, is we've got everything. We want everything now. We want the big thing now. And it is, I think that my encouragement would be, because I think I am in this part of my life where I'm noticing everything I'm doing requires time to let things grow and let things happen. I mean, even with youth, I mean, you are showing up and we're encouraging students, and we are trying to instill in them the same things that we'll have walked through, but also currently walking through with the Lord. And it takes time to see those changes in them sometimes. Yeah. And in the work I'm doing with the job I just started, it's going to take time. I think that I would just encourage to just be rooted, strive to be so rooted that whenever you are tempted to do things super, super quickly, or rush ahead, or do things in your own strength, or even believe so much for the big thing. It's great. You want to believe. I want to believe in the big thing. And right. I believe God gives us faith for the big things. I mean, vision for really, really big things. And it's beautiful. It's his heart. But to be so rooted in him that we don't kind of pursue that and then miss him and where he's working really now in the middle of it. Yeah. Because I find oftentimes God cares so much more about the present, and he obviously cares about the destination. We're worried a lot about the destination. I want to get to where I want to be. I want the big thing. I want to be through whatever it is I'm going through now. I want to see the project done. I want to see the sanctuary filled with youth students. I want all of that. Yeah. But I think, I believe that God is a lot more concerned with right now, where our feet are right now as well, in the present. Don't get so caught up in this that you miss what he's trying to do in you right now. Just be rooted in him. Stay faithful where you are, be where your feet are, but also believe him for that. Yeah. But I think we can sometimes miss where he's working right now in our moments, in the mundane, in the ordinary, the showing up, the taking care of your child, seeing the Lord through their eyes, seeing the world through their eyes, showing up to your job and just working faithfully, being a light to those around you, and just being so open to what he is trying to show you right where you are, because ultimately that's going to lead to where he's taking you.
Yeah. That is so good. For every young leader out there who might listen to that, man, that's a great takeaway. So thank you, Leah. Thanks for your time. We talked a lot about it, but you certainly have a ton going on. So I appreciate you carving out the time to have this conversation. And after a couple weeks of pushing it,
Yeah. Listen, for everybody listening, I'm just saying when Friday comes around, it's like the end of the workday. Here's the thing. I didn't feel this way before. I'm learning. I'm learning a new ebb and flow, but it is Friday, and I'm so excited about that.
I love that.
I'm so excited.
I got one more fun question for you before we wrap up the episode. Someone literally texted me this, Peter Sprecher, if you know him. He texted me this while we were recording this, and I'm interested to get your thoughts.
Okay.
Out of all the genres of writing, which one do you think the Bible is? Mystery, thriller, horror, romance, or action?
Wow.
I don't think there's a right or wrong here.
I think it's all of them.
You can't say that. If you got to pick one dominant one. Okay, it can be all of them, but one dominant one. What would you say?
Okay, wait. Read them again. Yeah. Action,
thriller, mystery, horror, romance, action, or comedy.
Comedy goes crazy.
You're just calling the Bible a joke at that point.
I think that's so tricky. I feel like it'd be easy to say action because there's a lot of the Old Testament has so much action. I'm actually going to go with, I'm going to say romance.
Okay.
But am I saying this because I'm a woman? I don't know. I think it's probably all of the above.
I didn't say it.
It's probably all of the above. Here's why I would say it's romance is because I really do believe it is a love letter from God to his people. And I mean, hey, in romances, you also can have, how many like romances are there where they're like, I don't know, like the knight in shining armor, he kills all the enemies to get to his queen. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Mm-hmm. No, I obviously don't mean romance in like a, you know how we would think of romance, like, the Nicholas Sparks novel. I mean, like, I really do believe it's his love letter to us, sending his son because he loved us so much. So that we would know him. So I'm going to go with romance, but comedy goes crazy.
The Bible's funny.
That goes crazy. There are parts that are, there are parts that are so funny. And I'll just be reading the Bible alone and you sit there and you're like I think there was one time when Rob and I were dating and I was reading an Old Testament where like Saul tells David to go get a bunch of foreskins, kill a bunch of dudes and get their foreskins. And he comes back with like more than he was supposed to have. And I remember reading that and I was like, what is
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
The Bible is very funny. Well, that was a great answer. Thank you for that. Totally off the cuff, but I think that is great. So thank you, Leah. And I appreciate, once again, your time. Tell Rob I say what's up and enjoy your weekend.
Yes, I will. Thank you so much. It's been an honor, and I hope you have a good weekend as well. I'll probably see you in 2 days.
Hey, there we go. Church on Sunday. Everyone get to church.
Come on, get to church.
To all of you listening, make sure, if you want to, send Leah a message or whatever, just thanking her. And Thank you so much for listening, tuning in. Till next time, see ya.
See ya.